Hello and welcome to the module on special project number 2, which will be based on chapter 4, working with vendors. Our last module before the final will be the second special project number 2. This project will revisit to an earlier chapter which works on another very important concept and process. SP1 took us back to chapter 3, working with customers. SP2 takes us back to chapter 4, working with vendors. Even though it is an earlier chapter, it deals with one of the most important areas of QuickBooks, vendor-related transactions. So with SP1 we had customer-related transactions, with SP2 we have vendor-related transactions. Our assignment will utilize the Reinforce Your Skills exercise at the end of chapter 4, and we'll discuss that a little later in this video. I'd like to review chapter 4 for a moment, and I'd like to do this by looking at the Develop Your Skills exercise in the chapter. As we've said before, these are points where the student gets to take a number of teaching lessons and actually try to do them yourself. I want to go through the Develop Your Skills exercises in chapter 4. The first one is Manage the Vendor List, and it's DYS 4-1, starts on page 125. The next one is Enter Bills, and it's DYS 4-2, and it starts on page 132. The next one is Pay Bills, DYS 4-3, starts on page 137. And the following one after that is Write and Print Checks, DYS 4-4, starting on page 141. The next one is Correct Vendor Transactions. So we're at a point now where we're starting to be able to correct the various things that we've created. And this is DYS 4-5, starting on page 145. And then we get into the reports in Produce Vendor and P&L Reports, DYS 4-6, beginning on page 149. And then finally, Create QuickBooks Graphs. This is a section of QuickBooks that we haven't looked at before carefully, and it's about using all the graphing capabilities in QuickBooks, and particularly those that relate to the vendor area. This is DYS 4-7 on page 152. So as you see, by running through these 7 different DYS exercises, which mark the end of each segment in the text in that chapter, we see that we start off with the lists for vendors. We talk about entering and paying bills, and then writing the checks. So that process of entering bills, paying bills, writing the checks is pretty much of a full cycle of vendor transactions. And then we talk about correcting vendor transactions, because whenever you do these things, there's a possibility of making errors or realizing you have to make a change. And then we have the reports, and then finally the graphs. The next item in our module is the quiz, and I really stress that we've had such good luck with these vendor quiz study lists that you go through the one for SP2. And this gives you a chance in an unhurried fashion to look for the best answers. It also is something that's very good to look at before you read the chapter, because as you read, you will often come across the answer to one of the quiz questions, instead of reading and then trying to go back and find the answers. Then I'd like to talk about the project for SP2, Reinforce Your Skills, based on chapter 4. The end of chapter 4. After you've read or reread chapter 4, I want you to complete the Reinforce Your Skills, RYS, sections 4-1 through 4-4. They're on pages 155 through 157. Be sure to remember to change the name of the company by adding your information at the end of the company name. We do not do Reinforce Your Skills section 4-5. Once you have completed RYS section 4-4, in other words, you've gone through all of the 4 sections, print out the following 2 reports, each with a date range of all. Use a date range of all on each of these 2 reports. First one is obtained by choosing Reports, Vendors and Payables, Vendor Balance Summary, and save this report as a PDF file named vendorbalancesummary.pdf. The checksum value for this report is a total number of $43,459.84. As I've mentioned before, all of the details that I'm reading off and talking to you about now are in the actual assignment, so you don't have to remember all of this. The next report to be turned in, the second report, requires 2 steps to create. This is one of the more complicated ones. First, you start by choosing Reports, Company and Financial, and then the Profit and Loss Standard. On your screen, you will see the report, and then you're to double-click on the expense line 9060 Business License and Fees. This will create a transaction detail by account report for account 9060. Save this report as a PDF file, naming it 9060 transactiondetail.pdf. The checksum value for this report is the line that says Marion County and the debit value of $250. $250 even. If the reports do not produce the correct checksum values, you've made an error somewhere. Continue working until you get the correct results. When you've saved those 2 files as PDFs and you're ready to upload, you just go to the assignment, click on the Submit Assignment button in the upper right corner, and then be sure that you identify each of the 2 files before you submit. The last item in this module is the SP2 Feedback and Comments discussion section. As always, please share with me and other students any comments, questions, or suggestions that you might have relating to this module. I look at all of these and answer some that require answers, but I find that they're very interesting, and I'm hoping that each student finds other students' comments interesting. And you might wish to just comment here, if you'd like to this time, on what it's felt like to revisit 2 of the earlier chapters after we've gone through all of the other chapters. Thank you. Good luck with the module.